Okay, Hare Krishna. Here we are. Thank you, Hannah, for turning on your video. And we are reading from the Caitanya Charitamrita, Adi-lila, Chapter 7, Lord Chaitanya, and 5 features. And we'll be picking up from text 116. So Adi-lila, Chapter 7, text 116. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chanda, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chanda, Jaya Gaura. Jaya. So, text 116. Ishvarera tattvayena jvalita jvalana jivara swarupayaiche spulingera kana. Translation. So this is Lord Chaitanya, and he's still at that lunch where he's talking to the Mayavadi philosophers. Mayavadi is headed by Prakashananda Saraswati, and he's preaching to them. He's basically defeating Mayavad philosophy with different arguments. So here he goes, continuing. The Lord is like a great blazing fire, and the living entities are like small sparks of that fire. So, purport. Although sparks and a big fire are both fire, and both have the power to burn, the burning power of the fire and that of the spark are not the same. Why should one artificially try to become like a big fire, although by constitution he is like a small spark? It is due to ignorance. One should therefore understand that neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead nor the small spark-like living entities have anything to do with matter. But when the spiritual spark comes in contact with the material world, his fiery quality is extinguished. That is the position of the conditioned souls. Because they are in touch with the material world, their spiritual quality is almost dead. But because these spiritual sparks are all Krishna's parts and parcels, as the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita, Mamaya Vamsha, they can revive their original position by getting free from material contact. This is pure philosophical understanding. In Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual sparks are declared to be sanatana, eternal. Therefore, the material energy Maya cannot affect their constitutional position. So, yeah, here Prabhupada is saying that who we are is that we are like little sparks from the Krishna fire. So Krishna is like the blazing fire. He's very big, and we're like the little sparks that shot out from that fire, and we are very small. But the good news is that because we're qualitatively the same, like we're all fiery in quality or all spiritual in quality, then we have nothing to do with matter, right? Krishna has nothing to do with the material world, and we also have nothing to do with this material world. But the problem is that because the material energy is so strong and because we are so tiny, that when we come to this material world, then we get a little overwhelmed by the material atmosphere. And Prabhupada says that our fiery quality becomes extinguished. So we basically, we forget who we are. We forget that we're spiritual souls. We forget how to act as a spirit soul. We forget what is the nature, the identity of the spirit soul. And we just think we're material bodies and that material things are ours and this material place is our home, and we identify with our city and country and families and bodies, and we're very out of touch. We become out of touch with who we are, right? When we get in touch with the material world, we become out of touch with who we are. Prabhupada says our spiritual quality becomes almost dead. But fortunately, the soul cannot be killed. So no matter how swamped we get by the material energy, we're never actually extinguished. We just become very, 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 very dim, right? Our fiery quality, our spiritual qualities. And then the good news is that we can revive that, right? We can make our little sparks shine again and shine brightly by the process of devotional service. So going to the next paragraph, Prabhupada says, someone may argue, why is there a need to create the spiritual sparks? The answer can be given in this way. Since the absolute personality of Godhead is omnipotent, he has both unlimited and limited potencies. This is the meaning of omnipotent. To be omnipotent, he must have not only unlimited potencies, but limited potencies also. Thus, to exhibit his omnipotency, he displays both. The living entities are endowed with limited potency, although they are a part of the Lord. The Lord displays the spiritual world by his unlimited potencies, whereas by his limited potencies, the material world is displayed. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yaedam daryate jagat. Besides the inferior nature, O Madhyamda Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind, which is all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. Bhagavad Gita 7.5. The Jiva Bhuta, the living entities, control this material world with their limited potencies. Generally, people are bewildered by the activities of scientists and technologists. Due to Maya, they think that there is no need of God and that they can do everything and anything, but actually they cannot. Since this cosmic manifestation is limited, their existence is also limited. Everything in this material world is limited, and for this reason there is creation, sustenance, and dissolution. However, in the world of unlimited energy, the spiritual world, there is neither creation nor destruction. If the personality of God did not possess both limited and unlimited energies, he could not be called omnipotent. Mahato Mahiyan Anuto Niyan. He is greater than the greatest and smaller than the smallest. He is smaller than the smallest in the form of the living entities, and greater than the greatest in the form of Krishna. If there were no one to control, there would be no meaning to the conception of the supreme controller, Ishvara, just as there is no meaning to a king without his subjects. If all the subjects became king, there would be no distinction between the king and an ordinary citizen. Thus, for the Lord to be the supreme controller, there must be a creation to control. The basic principle for the existence of the living entities is called Chid Vilas, or spiritual pleasure. The omnipotent Lord displays his pleasure, potency, as the living entities. The Lord is described in Vedanta Sutra as Anandamayo Vyasat. He is by nature the reservoir of all pleasure, and because he wants to enjoy pleasure, there must be energies to give him pleasure or supply him the impetus for pleasure. This is the perfect philosophical understanding of the absolute truth. Very interesting. So, why does there need to be spiritual sparks? Why did Krishna want us to exist? Is why? Why did Krishna make us exist?
Because he wants to enjoy us.
It sounds kind of weird, right? He wants to enjoy us and he wants to control us. Sounds a little interesting, right? But actually, the thing is that he wants us to enjoy. It's not just that he's going to enjoy us and we're going to, accept that, but it's that he also wants us to enjoy him, right? He wants all of us to enjoy ourselves together. That's what he wants. And the only reason that he wants to be the supreme controller is because he knows how to control things in a way that everybody benefits and everybody's happy. Right? The reason we don't like the idea of someone controlling or wanting to control us is because generally people who have power and control in this world, they use it for their own advantage and often for the disadvantage of the people that they control. But Krishna's not like that. Right? Krishna's going to control everything in a way that makes everybody the most happy. So that's the only reason that he wants to be the supreme controller, is so that he can make sure that nothing's going wrong, that everything is happening in a way that we are experiencing the most happiness, the most bliss, the most love, the most beauty in our lives. And the reason that he's the supreme enjoyer is because he's able to give enjoyment unlimitedly, right? We're limited, but pure devotees want to give enjoyment to the Lord, but we can only do so in a limited sense because we're limited. but Krishna is unlimited, so he can give unlimited enjoyment, unlimited pleasure for the jivas. Yeah. So if you just say Krishna made us because he wanted to control us and he wanted to enjoy us, then it doesn't sound nice, it sounds a little horrible actually. But if we think about why he wants to um, enjoy with us, it's because he knows that we're not going to be happy and enjoying a relationship with some material things or material relationships as much as we're going to enjoy him, a relationship with him. So, yeah. And if we try to take charge of our own lives, we're going to mess it up. And if we let someone else take charge of our lives, they're probably going to mess it up. But if we let Krishna take charge of our lives, it's going to be wonderful. And he knows that. And that's why he's like, just let me be the supreme controller, please. Just trust me. Mhm. But we're like, no, I will not be controlled because I know myself best and I'm going to make the decisions. I'm going to call the shots. And I don't want anyone enjoying me because I'm the enjoyer and I should be enjoying other people, right? That's our problem. We don't want someone else to be the controller or enjoyer because we want to be that person, right? We want to control our own lives, and sometimes we also want to control other people's lives, and we want to enjoy our own lives, and we also want to sometimes enjoy other people things. So we basically want to take the position of being the supreme controller and enjoyer, and we don't want Krishna to be that. But it doesn't work out well for us. And if we just let Krishna be in those positions, which is his actual position, because he's big and we are small, and then it's going to work out really nice for tiny little us. All right, Hannah, I know you're dying to ask a question here. Go ahead.
It's a little confusing though, like in my head, because it's almost like the what came first, the chicken or the egg type of thing. Because it's like, well, if Krishna made us because he knew that we would enjoy him and also he wanted to enjoy us and he knew he could be the supreme Lord that would give us ultimate pleasure. It's like if he didn't even create us in the first place, then basically my question is it seems a little bit like, well, Krishna created us to enjoy us and we get pleasure from Krishna as well. But if he never would have created us, then there would have been nothing for us to get pleasure from in the first place. So I don't know what I'm trying to say. But
Well,
I
it's
know
not
what I'm
that
trying to say.
it's hard to like understand it in terms of like, I mean, if you think that we are created and Krishna created us for his pleasure, then you start thinking things like, all right, so there was a time when there was only Krishna and he was sitting around feeling really bored because he had no one to talk to, no one to play with, and whatever. So he decided to expand himself into all of us jivas so that he had people to have fun with, right? That we exist for his enjoyment. But it's not like that because Krishna says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future, nor in the future shall any of us ever cease to be. So it's not that at one time we didn't exist and then Krishna created us and then all of a sudden we existed. Like we use that kind of language for the material world, right? We use that for the universe, but the universe is created and then exists for some time. It's maintained for some time and then it's destroyed and then it's created again. But when it comes, so we're used to that. And because we're in the material world where everything is temporary, we're just used to that something didn't exist and then it was then it existed, it was made, it was produced, it was created, it was given birth to, whatever, right? And then it existed for some time and then it was gone. So that's how we look at things, that things have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But spiritual existence has no beginning, no middle, and no end. It's just eternal. So as souls, we just always have been and always will be. So then, yeah, and it's just always been like this, like forever, that, we're small souls and we have a relationship with Krishna, the Supreme Unlimited Soul. And we are part of Krishna's potencies because Krishna has always existed and he is he has all of his potencies, right? He's the Shaktiman and he has all of his Shaktis. And we are one of those. We're the Jiva Shakti. So we exist separately from Krishna as individuals, but in another sense, we are all part and parcel of Krishna because we're his energies, right? Krishna and Krishna's energies are the same, just like the energy of the sun, right? The sun, the heat from the sun, the light from the sunbeams are all sun. If you try to separate the sunbeams from the sun and say they're two totally different things, if you try to say like, all right, well, the sun has always existed, but the sunlight was created later. It's like, no, it's the sun and the sun, like as soon as there's the sun, there's the sunbeams, sun rays are there, light and heat is there because it's the energy of the sun itself. So it's the same thing. We are energies of Krishna and we are part of him. We are non-different from him in the sense like we are part of him. But at the same time, we're parcels. We're separated parcels. Just like a parcel is like a box that you wrap up in paper, tie a ribbon, and it's a discrete like thing. And there's a parcel here, right? Like the Amazon truck comes, you get like, 5 boxes from the Amazon truck. So each one is a separate parcel, right? They're not merged together. You pick up one and you pick up another one. They're different, right? And so like that, we are like discrete bundles of existence. We're individuals, but at the same time, we are parts of Krishna. That's why Lord Chaitanya said, Achintya, Veda, Abheda, Tattva, right? We are simultaneously one with Krishna and different from Krishna. So this is the whole philosophy that Lord Chaitanya is leading into, because the Mayavadis are thinking we are one with Krishna. And this perception of being separate from Krishna, being separate individuals, is illusion. That's what the Mayavadis say. It's just Maya, that which is not. We are not separate. We are one with Krishna. And after liberation, we're going to merge with Krishna and become one with Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya is saying, not exactly. Yes, we are one with Krishna, but we are also separate. Just like the spark is the same as the fire. It's part of the fire and it's made of the same stuff as the fire, but it's separate from the fire. And it's small. The fire is big, the spark is small. And the spark can be extinguished when it comes in contact with things that are not fire. So we also get affected by things that are not spiritual. Okay, Hannah, follow-up question?
Yeah, so just to confirm that I understood properly, even though that language is used like we were created for this reason, it's not like sequential in the sense that we're used to. Rather, that's just verbiage used so that we can understand it, but really it's like a very spiritual thing that just
we weren't actually created. We've always been, right? Never was there a time when we did not exist. So material things are created and destroyed. Spiritual things are not created, not destroyed.
Very hard to wrap your mind around that when you're used to
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult. That's why Lord Chaitanya says, Achintya, it's inconceivable, right? For the conditioned mind. Okay. Oh, I was just saying Krishna Shaktiman and we're the Shakti, and now Lord Chaitanya is going to say the same thing. Text 117. Jiva Tattva Shakti Krishna Tattva Shaktiman Gita Vishnu Puranadi Tahate Brahman. I promise I didn't look at the verse before saying that. Right, you want to read, Hannah?
Okay. The living entities are energies, not the energetic. The energetic is Krishna. This is very vividly described in the Bhagavad Gita, the Vishnu Purana, and other Vedic literatures. Purport. As already explained, there are 3 prashtanas on the path of advancement in spiritual knowledge, namely the Nyaya Prashtana, Vedanta philosophy, Shruti Prashtana, the Upanishads and Vedic mantras, and the Smriti Prashtana, the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Puranas, and etc. Unfortunately, the Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the Smriti Prasthana. Smriti refers to the conclusions drawn from the Vedic evidence. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers do not accept the authority of the Bhagavad Gita and the Puranas, and this is called Ardha Kukuti, the logic of a half a hen. If one believes in the Vedic literatures, one must accept all Vedic literatures recognized by the great acharyas, but the Mayavadi philosophers accept only the Nyaya Prasthana and Shruti Prasthana, rejecting the Smriti Prasthana. Here, however, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cites evidence from the Gita, Vishnu Purana, and so on, which are Smriti Prasthana. No one can avoid the personality of Godhead in the statements of the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literature, such as the Mahabharata and the Puranas. Lord Chaitanya therefore quotes a passage from the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, then he's going to quote Bhagavad Gita. So what he's saying here is this logic of half a hen means that, like a farmer had a hen, and he liked the back part of the hen because it gave eggs, but he didn't like the front part, the mouth part, because you had to feed it. So he's thinking, all right, easy. We'll just cut off the head and keep the back part. We don't have to feed it, and it'll just keep laying eggs. But the problem is that there weren't any eggs after he cut off the front part because the hen was dead. So yeah, so these Mayavadi philosophers, they're like, all right, we like these Vedas, we like the Shrutis, but we don't like the Smritis. So we'll just, ignore the Smritis and kind of dismiss those as not very important or not even actual Vedic knowledge, and we'll just accept the Shrutis. So yeah, I was saying that, well, that doesn't work. We can't just pick and choose. We have to accept the Vedic knowledge as it is. So he's saying what the Vedas say, Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Purana, and other literature. So the reason Prabhupada is going into this is because Bhagavad Gita and Vishnu Purana are all Smriti. So Lord Chaitanya, he's saying he's going to quote from the Smritis to prove that the living entities are the energies and that Krishna is the energetic. But the problem is that some Mayavadis don't accept the Smritis. So even if you quote from Bhagavad Gita, they'll be like, all right, well, that's bogus. We don't accept Bhagavad Gita, so you're wasting your time quoting from it. Yes, Hannah.
How do they like tell their followers that their dismissal of Smriti is acceptable? Like what do they say? That it's not from an authorized source or something? Like, do?
Yeah. Yeah, they say that the Shrutis, because the Shruti scriptures, the original four Vedas and so forth, are manifested from the Lord himself. But the Smritis are composed later, right, by sages, basically. So like, okay, we trust the Lord, but we don't trust those sages. They could have misinterpreted, they could have put their own views in there, could be some speculation going on. So yes, so I mean, of course, the interesting thing is that the main sage who compiled Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata and the Puranas is Vyasadeva, the same person who, divided the Vedas into four and wrote the Vedanta Sutra, which they love. So it doesn't really actually make sense, if they're going to reject. I mean, if they want to reject like other um, Smritis that we don't read the Narada Pancharatra, but I don't see how they can reject the books that Srila Vyasadeva wrote in his maturity if they're going to accept books that he wrote previously, right? You would think that the ones he wrote later are the more realized ones. Usually that's how it is. As time goes by, people become more advanced in spiritual life, right? But of course, Vyasadeva is exceptional anyway because he's a literary incarnation of God. So, yeah. Go ahead, Hannah. Oh, I thought you put your hand up again. You took it down. All right.
I have a question. I did not see that.
Pragati or something?
Yeah. So can you reconcile what are Shrutis and like difference between Shrutis and Smritis?
Yeah, Shruti means that which was heard, and Smriti means that which is remembered. So that's what the words mean. So Shruti means sound vibration, right? The knowledge that the Lord, that emanated from the Lord, that was spoken by the Lord or received directly by the Lord. And then smriti is what, after hearing the shrutis, what the sages wrote themselves,
Mm.
right? Like for example, right, for example, I give a Bhagavatam class, okay? I give a class and you're there in the class and you listen to me speak for, 2 hours. God forbid. You listen to me speak for 2 hours and then you go away and you take some notes and then you write it all up and then you publish an article based on what you heard from me. Okay. So if someone else is in the audience and they directly heard it from me, I mean, I'm just using an example. They would say, "Oh, well, I trust that which I heard because I was sitting personally in the room more than like the article that Pragati wrote on it, because she might have like put in her own ideas, her own interpretation, her own thoughts, her own misunderstandings, or maybe she wasn't listening very carefully or whatever, right?
Mm.
So they may be like, let's say somebody, they didn't hear my class and they only read the article you wrote, and then they're like, they read it and they're like, oh, that's interesting. And they ask somebody, what do you think? And they're like, I'm not so sure about that. Let's go hear the recording of the class that Prabhupada Priya gave and see for ourselves. So they would see how people would think that that's more authorized, right?
Mm.
But then if I myself gave the class and after sat down and was like, hey, Krishna inspired me to say some really nice points there. I think I'm going to like write an article about this and publish it. So then in that case, that would be just as bona fide as the class that I gave, right?
Mm.
So that's why I don't understand why, they're not accepting the books, the literatures that were compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. Anyways, yeah. Hannah?
It so then is any commentary on Vedic literature considered smriti, even if it's like an impersonal, like how some people are like impersonalists and like share their realizations on Bhagavad Gita, and then like we were reading, say, Kurukshetra is the senses or the like all that. Is that considered?
Is that considered smriti? I guess it could be. I'm not sure. When we talk about the fourth offense against the holy name is to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. It's kind of like the Shrutis and the Smritis. So, I mean, a commentary on Vedic literature, or yeah, a book that's based on, Vedic literatures. Um, yeah, it's kind of like Smriti, right? But I don't know what the qualification that, I mean, anyone could write a book. It could be some mundane academic or so, in which case you wouldn't really call it Smriti because what qualification is that? So there must be some qualification. I'm not sure what that is. That's a very good question, though. Like, what does it take for something to be accepted as Smriti? Like, would Prabhupada Lilamrita be considered Smriti, for example? Would the ISKCON deity worship manual be considered Smriti? Because it's based on Narada's, it's based on scriptural books about Archana. That I'm not sure. I don't see why not, frankly. You got qualified devotees who are in a bona fide sampradaya, connected in disciplic succession and following standards and basing their writing on authorized scriptures, so why not? But yeah, I'm not sure.
That would be
Okay.
something good to know, because
Yeah,
because that point where it's like, well, you're using smriti to defend, you know, your philosophy. If somebody's like, well, I have my own smriti, which is
exactly.
then that's scary because it's like, okay, so then what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah, so we have to find out. We have to ask our scholars. I'm not scholarly enough. We have to ask someone like Hridayananda Maharaj or Radhika Raman Prabhu or scholars, what determines what is accepted as Smriti and what is just, transcendental literature. Okay. Text 118. So now Lord Chaitanya is speaking, and he's just made this nice point that Krishna is the energetic and the living entities are his energies. So now he's going to quote Bhagavad Gita. Aparayamitastvanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Didn't Prabhupada just quote this verse in the previous purport? I think so, right? Yep, he did. Yeah. Okay, who's reading? Aruna?
Sure. Besides these inferior energies, O mighty and Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities, who is exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature for good. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is explained that the five elements earth, water, fire, air, and ether constitute the gross energy of the absolute truth, and that there are also three subtle energies, namely the mind, intelligence, and false ego, or identification with the phenomenal world. Thus, the entire cosmic manifestation is divided into eight energies, all of which are inferior. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Mama Maya Duratyaya, the inferior energies known as Maya is so strong that although the living entity does not belong to this energy, due to the superior strength of the inferior energy, the living entity, Jiva Bhuta, forgets the real position and identifies with it. Krishna says distinctly that beyond the material energy, there is a superior energy which is known as Jiva Bhuta, or living entities. When in contact with material energy, this superior energy conducts all the activities of the material world, phenomenal world. The supreme cause is Krishna, Janmadi Asya Yataha, who is the origin of all energies, which works variously. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has both inferior and superior energies, and the difference between them is that the superior energy is factual, whereas the inferior energy is a reflection of the superior. A reflection of the sun in a mirror or on water appears to be a sun but is not. Similarly, the material world is but a reflection of the spiritual world. Although it appears to be factual, it is not. It is only a temporary reflection, whereas the spiritual world is a factual reality. The material world, with its gross and subtle forms, is merely a reflection of the spiritual world. The living entity is not a product of the material energy, his spiritual energy, but in contact with matter, he forgets his identity. Thus, the living entity identifies himself with the matter and enthusiastically engages in material activities in the guises of the technologist, scientist, philosopher, etc. He does not know that he is not at all material product, but is spiritual. His real identity thus being lost, he struggles very hard in the material world. And the Hare Krishna movement, or Krishna consciousness movement, is trying to revive its original consciousness. His activity is in manufacturing big skyscrapers are evidence of intelligence. But this kind of intelligence is not at all advanced. He should know that his only real concern is how to get free from material contact, for by observing his mind in material activities, he takes material bodies again and again. And although he falsely claims to be very intelligent in the material consciousness, he is not at all intelligent. When you speak about Krishna consciousness movement, which is meant to make people intelligent, the conditioned living entity therefore misunderstands it. He is so engrossed in the material concept of life that he does not think there can be any activities that are actually based on intelligence beyond the construction of skyscrapers and big roads and the manufacturing of cars. This is a proof of Maya ya parhata jnana, or loss of all intelligence due to the influence of Maya. When a living entity is freed from such misconception, he is called liberated. When one is actually liberated, he no longer identifies with the material world. The symptom of mukti, liberation, is that one engages in spiritual activities instead of falsely engaging in material activities. Transcendental loving devotional service in the spiritual activity of the spirit soul. Mayavadi philosophers confuse such spiritual activity with material activity, but the Bhagavad Gita 14:26 confirms. Can I skip this? One who engages in the spiritual activities of the unallowed devotional services of Vya Vicharini Bhakti is immediately elevated to the transcendental platform, and he is to be considered Brahma Bhuta, which indicates that he is no longer in the material world but is in the spiritual world. Devotional service is enlightenment or awakening. When the living entity perfectly performs spiritual activities under the direction of the spiritual master, he becomes perfect in knowledge and understands that he is not God but a servant of God. It is explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nitya Dasa. The real identity of the living entity is that he is an eternal servant of the Supreme. CC Madhya 2008. As long as one does not come to this conclusion, he must be an ignorance. This is also confirmed by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Bahunam Janmanam Antya Gyanavam Mam Prapadante Samahatma Sudurlabha. After many births of struggling for existence and cultivating knowledge, when one comes to the point of real knowledge, he surrenders unto me. Such an advanced Mahatma or great soul is very rarely to be seen. Thus, although the Mayavadi philosophers appears to be very much advanced in knowledge, they are not yet perfect. To come to the point of perfection, they must voluntarily surrender to Krishna.
Jai, thank you. So, yeah, Prabhupada is saying here that the real concern is how to get free from material contact. Because when we stay absorbed in material activities, what happens? We get material bodies again and again. So this is not very intelligent. Not very intelligent, right? Staying in, doing material activities and then just getting material bodies again and again. So what we have to do is start doing spiritual activities, the activities that are aligned with the nature of the spirit soul, which purify us from our material attachments and which awaken us to our original spiritual identity. Right, that's what we're going for. So it says devotional service is enlightenment or awakening. We're trying to wake up from this sleeping condition of ignorance of our identity. And yeah, like Krishna is saying here in this Bhagavad Gita verse, that we are actually superior energy of the Lord. We're meant to be engaged in superior activities. We're meant to be in a superior place, but we've resigned ourselves to being in this inferior, perverted reflection of the actual blissful reality. We're just like, yeah, this is my place here in the material world. And this is my material body that I function in. And this is who I am. This is what I do here, So, yeah, that's not very inspiring and not very intelligent. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing. So instead of wasting our time getting stuck in material things, we need to snap out of it, and understand the real concern, how to get free from this material contact, how to awaken our actual spiritual identity, and how to act on the liberated platform as a servant of God. Yes, Pragati, you have an alter ego here.
Yeah, I was just thinking when you said that devotional
Yeah.
service is the awakening of us from this material world, because when you said this, like right now we are hearing a lot of disturbing things going on in the world, how like human beings, people are exploiting other people and going so demonic. And then how I felt like how important it is to read the scriptures and to do devotional service, to at least just be in the human form, like do the humanly activity, if not, if not being into spiritual, but like this devotional service is so much important.
Mm.
Feeling these things.
Yeah, the world is not getting any more pleasant as time goes by, right? Kali Yuga is progressing. So we need to get serious. Okay? Yeah, we have to understand the priorities here. What is the real concern? Otherwise, we just stay struggling very hard here with the six senses and the mind. Yes, Hannah.
I was just thinking, sometimes like when you read Prabhupada's books, if you're not in the proper state of consciousness, you can feel like he keeps making the same point over and over again.
Mm.
But actually, whenever we were reading this, I was thinking, I was feeling Prabhupada's like love and compassion. Sometimes like Krishna consciousness is so uh it satisfies the mind and like the intellect, and sometimes I feel like I read and reflect from that place and even write from that place. But I think why Prabhupada has so much Shakti and like ability to transform people's hearts is because he's writing from a different place. He's writing from like he really came down so many levels to just like really break down Krishna consciousness in such a compassionate, almost like ABC format. And it was so amazing to just read the purport and have that different mentality instead of like, yeah, I get it. It's a misuse of intelligence, but rather like, wow, like it is a misuse of intelligence. Prabhupada saying it's not very much advanced to use the mind to concoct skyscrapers and all these machines, like redirect your consciousness. Anyways, it's simple, but it just makes me feel like so grateful to Srila Prabhupada. And I think when you feel so grateful to Srila Prabhupada, and I think Krishna helps you to see more because he's so appreciating how you're honoring his devotee.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can really see that Prabhupada wants to help us, you know. He's saying like, people, we don't know, our real identity is lost. We're struggling very hard in the material world. It's like, you know, it's really sad. And I mean, Prabhupada says these things again and again, but the thing is like we just keep doing it. You know, it's like we're not changing. We still don't know our real identity. We're still struggling, you know, very hard in this material world to try to, you know, engage in material activities and achieve some degree of material success. It's like after year after year after year of reading Prabhupada's purports, it's like that's why he keeps saying it again and again, is because he needs to, frankly, you know, like it's not sinking in. Yeah, like we're so engrossed in the material concept of life. We're so deeply engrossed that we're not coming out of it very easily. It's not like we read the one purport once and we're like, oh yeah, my God, such a fool I've been identifying with this body. I'm done with that. I'm a pure spirit soul. I'm going to do nothing but spiritual activities for the rest of my life. Only pure devotional service for me. No more material attachments. Why would I be attached to ignorance anyway? Things that are just temporary and dull and have nothing to do with me as a soul. What the heck? I'm just going to be totally spiritual. You know, like how many people are doing that? Therefore, Prabhupada is saying again and again and again and again. Because
Well,
we're
you did that.
thick.
You read it once and
Kind
you
of.
figured it out.
Yeah.
Kind of. I tried, but yeah, I still have my little hang-ups.
And your kids figured it out.
They must be coming from lifetimes of reading purports and not getting it. And me too. But yeah, we're all just trying. Okay, text 119. Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta Kshetragya Tata. This is a different meter, sorry. Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta Kshetragya Tata Para Avidya Karma Samgyanya Tritiya Shakti Ishyate. Pragati?
The potencies.
Oh, this is a very long purport. Anyways, you can read some of it anyway.
The potency of Lord Vishnu is summarized in three categories, namely the spiritual potency, the living entities, and ignorance. The spiritual potency is full of knowledge. The living entities, although belonging to the spiritual potency, are subject to bewilderment. And the third energy, which is full of ignorance, is always visible in creative activities. My God. Purport. This is a quotation from the Vishnu Puran, 6.7.61. In the previous verse quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, it has been established that the living entities are to be categorized among the Lord's potencies. The Lord is potent, and there are varieties of potencies. Parashaya Shaktir Vividheva Shruyate. Now, in this quotation from the Vishnu Puran, this is further confirmed. There are varieties of potencies, and they have been divided into three categories, namely spiritual, marginal, and external. The spiritual potency is manifested in the spiritual world. Krishna's form, qualities, activities, and entourage are all spiritual. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4:5. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, my spiritual potency, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Atma Maya refers to the spiritual potency. When Krishna comes to this or any other universe, he does so with his spiritual potency. We take birth by the force of the material potency, but as stated here, with reference to the Vishnu Puran, the Krishna Kshetragya or living entity belongs to the spiritual potency. Thus, when we free ourselves from the clutches of all of the material potency, we can also enter the spiritual world. The material potency is the energy of darkness or complete ignorance of spiritual activities. In the material potency, the living entity engages himself in fruitive activities, thinking that he can be happy through expansion in terms of material energy. This fact is prominently manifest in this age of Kali because human society, not understanding the spiritual nature, is busily expanding in material activities. The men of the present day are almost unaware of their spiritual identity. They think that they are products of the elements of the material world and that everything will end with the annihilation of the body. Therefore, they conclude that as long as one has a material body consisting of material senses, one should enjoy the senses as much as possible. Since they are atheists, they do not care whether there is a next life. Such activities are described in this verse as avidya karma sangyaya. The material energy is separated from the spiritual energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, although it is originally created by the Supreme Lord, He is not actually present within it. The Lord also confirms in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 4, Matsthani, Sarva Bhutani, everything is resting on me. This indicates that everything is resting on his own energy. For example, the planets are resting within outer space, which is the separated energy of Krishna. The Lord explains in the Bhagavad Gita earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these eight constitute my separated material energies. The separated energies act as if it were independent, but here it is said that although such energies are certainly factual, they are not independent but merely separated. The separated energy can be understood from a practical example. I compose books by speaking into a dictaphone. And when the dictaphone is replayed, it appears that I am speaking personally, but actually I am not. I spoke personally, but then the dictaphone tape, which is separate from me, acts exactly like me. Similarly, the material energy originally emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it acts separately, although the energy is supplied by the Lord. This is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Shuyate Sa Characharam. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings under the guidance of superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The material energy works as if independent, although it is not actually independent. In this verse from the Vishnu Puran, the total energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is classified in three divisions, namely the spiritual or internal potency of the Lord, the marginal potency or Kshetragya, the living entity, and the material potency, which is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and appears to act independently. When Srila Vyasadeva, by meditation and self realization, saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he also saw the separated energy of the Lord standing behind him. Apashyat Purusham Purnam Mayayam Cha Tat Aparshayam. Vyasadeva also realized that it is this separated energy of the Lord, the material energy that covers the knowledge of the living entities, Yaya Samohita Jiva Atmanam Tri Gunatmakam. The separated material energy bewilders the living entities, jivas, and thus they work very hard under its influence, not knowing that they are not fulfilling their mission in life. Unfortunately, most of them think that they are the body and should therefore enjoy the material senses irresponsibly, since when death comes, everything will be finished. This is atheistic philosophy also flourished in India, where it was sometimes propagated by Charvakya Muni. Should I stop or read?
You want to stop? We can stop.
I can finish this paragraph. Who said
Okay, go ahead.
his theory was that as long as one lives, one should eat as much ghee as possible. In India,
That's my
ghee-
philosophy too.
in India, ghee clarified butter is a basic ingredient in preparing many varieties of food. Since everyone wants to enjoy nice food, Charvak Muni advised that one eat as much ghee as possible. One may say, I have no money. How shall I purchase ghee? Charvak Muni, however, says if you have no money, then beg, borrow, or steal. But in some way, secure ghee and enjoy life. For one who further objects that he will be held accountable for such unauthorized activities as begging, borrowing, and stealing, Charvak Muni replies, you will not be held responsible. As soon as your body is burned to ashes after death, everything is finished.
And the ghee burns very well. Your body will burn nicely with all the ghee inside.
This is called ignorance. From the Bhagavad Gita, it is understood that one does not die with the annihilation of his body. Na hanyate hanyamane sharira. The annihilation of one body involves changing to another. Tatha dehantara prapita, prapti. Therefore, to perform irresponsible activities in the material world is very dangerous. Without knowledge of the spirit soul and its transmigration, people are allured by the material energy to engage in many such activities, as if one could become happy simply by dint of material knowledge without reference to spiritual existence. Therefore, the entire material world and its activities are referred to as avidya karma sangyaya. In order to dissipate the ignorance of the human beings who work under the material energy, which is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord comes down to revive their original nature of spiritual activities. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. As soon as they deviate from their original nature, the Lord comes to teach them. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. My dear living entities, give up all material activities and simply surrender on to me for protection. Bhagavad Gita 1866. It is the statement of Charvak Muni that one should beg, borrow, or steal money to purchase ghee and enjoy life. Ranam Kritva Gritam Pibet. Thus, even the greatest atheist of India recommends that one eat ghee, not meat. No one could conceive of human beings eating meat like tigers and dogs, but men have become so degraded that they are just like animals and can no longer claim to have a human civilization.
Boom. Oh my God. We thought Charvak Muni was bad. And Prabhupada ends it like Charvak Muni was actually not too bad. He was an atheist, but at least he was a vegetarian. With this people nowadays, beg, borrow, or steal, but eat meat. And don't worry, because at the end of this life, your body's going to be burnt to ashes, and who cares what you did?
I heard people are eating human beings.
People are what?
Are eating human beings.
Oh God. Yeah. And there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in this world. So, yeah, that's why in order to dissipate the ignorance of us human beings who are under the influence of the material energy, Krishna comes. Right? As it says here, that Krishna comes to revive our original nature of spiritual activities. So thank God. Krishna comes to this world, he performs his pastimes, he speaks the Bhagavad Gita, he sets an example, and then he comes again as Lord Caitanya, and he again sets the example how to be a devotee. He gives us the holy name, he gives us his teachings, he teaches his ex-Goswamis, and they write so many books, and their followers write books, and everybody's just trying to get everyone to understand the real purpose of life and who we are and what we're meant to do, right? My dear living entities, give up your material activities and simply surrender unto me for protection, Krishna is saying. Yes, Hannah.
I was just thinking from when we were reading this purport, I was thinking that even something as simple as like lusting after ghee can cause anxiety. Like, well, what do we do if we don't have the money for it? Then beg, borrow, and steal. And then that causes anxiety. Well, what do I do if I'm going to get punished for it? Or even just that act of doing it alone is like anxiety inducing. So any meditation on the material world, what to speak of humans eating humans, to as simple as lusting after ghee, any meditation on the material world is bound to cause anxiety. And so I know it's so hard, but I really try to just turn everything off. Anything political, I turn it off. Anything scary, I turn it off. Because there's so many literatures, like you were saying, that we have available, and so many beautiful things we can absorb ourselves in. And that's really the only beneficial thing that you can do. Everything else is just going to cause anxiety.
Yeah, even when devotees start having their internal conflicts and debates about things, it's just like, I don't even want to know. I'm just so done with that. I'd rather just read Caitanya Caritamrita. Okay, good. Yeah, the less we need to know, the less we need to know about what's going on in this world, the better. And don't worry about it if you feel like you're a recluse living in a bubble. The world will go on very fine without you. Of course we can get out there and we can try, to give people knowledge. We should give people knowledge, give people prasadam, give people the holy name, give people a chance, right? But we also have to do that with detachment because not everybody's going to take. So we stay in our bubble and go out, but only for the purpose of pulling new people into the bubble, into the spiritual bubble. That's what I've literally been trying to live like that and not get too entangled, just kind of tread lightly through this world and leave the minimum of footprints and get your fingers stuck in the minimum of amount of things and try to associate with Krishna as much as we can, right? By associating with his names, by associating with the scriptures that teach about him, his words and pastimes, and his devotees, the deities, festivals, kata. Yeah. That way we can stay safe, right? That way we can actually be in the liberated situation even in this world. Okay, Lord Chaitanya is continuing here. Hena jiva tattva lana liki para tattva achana karila shrestha ishvara mahatva. Nikesh.
The Mayavadi philosophy is so degraded that it has taken the insignificant living entities to be the Lord. The supreme truth, thus covering the glory and supremacy of the absolute truth with monism. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments in this connection that in all Vedic scriptures, the Jiva Tattva, the truth of the living entities, is mentioned to be one of the energies of the Lord. If one does not accept the living entity to be a minute infinitesimal spark of the Supreme, but equates the Jiva Tattva with the Supreme Brahman, Supreme Personality of Godhead. It must be understood that his entire philosophy is based on a misunderstanding. Unfortunately, Sripada Sankaracharya purposely claimed the Jiva Tattva are living entities to be equal to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his entire philosophy is based on a misunderstanding and it misguides people to become atheists, whose mission in life is unfulfilled. The mission of human life, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, is to surrender unto the Supreme Lord and become his devotee. But the Mayavada philosophy misleads one to defy the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and pose oneself as the Supreme Lord. Thus, it has misguided hundreds of thousands of innocent men. In the Vedanta Sutra, Vyasadeva has described that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is potent and that everything material or spiritual is but an emanation of his energy. The Lord, the Supreme Brahman, is the origin or source of everything. Janmadi as yasyat yata, and all other manifestations are emanations of different energies of the Lord. This is also confirmed in the Vishnu Purana. Whatever we see in this world is simply an expansion of different energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is exactly like a fire that spreads illumination for a long distance, although it is situated in one place. This is a very vivid example. Similarly, it is stated that just as everything in the material world exists in the sunshine, which is the energy of the sun, so everything exists on the basis of the spiritual and material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, although Krishna is situated in his own abode, Goloka eva nivasati akhilatma bhuta, where he enjoys his transcendental pastimes with the cowherd boys and gopis, he is nevertheless present everywhere, even within the atoms of this universe. Andantara sta paramanchayantara sta. This is the verdict of the Vedic literature. Unfortunately, the Mayavada philosophy, misguiding people by claiming the living entity to be the Lord, has created havoc throughout the entire world and led almost everyone to godlessness. By thus covering the glories of the Supreme Lord, the Mayavadi philosophers have done the greatest disservice to human society. It is to counteract these most abominable activities of Mayavadi philosophers that Lord Chaitanya has introduced the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Nama, Hare Naiva Kevalam, Kalanasti Evanasti Eva Gatiranyaka. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. People should simply engage in the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, for thus they will gradually come to understand that they are not the Supreme Personality of Godhead as they have been taught by the Mayavadi philosophers, but are eternal servants of the Lord. As soon as one engages himself in the transcendental service of the Lord, he becomes free. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Bhagavad Gita 15:26. Therefore, the Hare Krishna movement or Krishna consciousness movement is the only light for the foolish living entities who think either that there is no God or that if God exists, he is formless and they themselves are also God. These misconceptions are very dangerous, and the only way to counteract them is to spread the Hare Krishna movement.
Jai. Very good. So, yeah, this Krishna consciousness movement is the only light, he's saying, for this dark world, living in a very dark world where people are thinking either there's no God or God is formless, or we're all God. And all three of those are wrong. So we have to switch on the light for people and show them the actual reality that there is a God and that He's the master and that we're all servants and we can have a really happy life by serving Krishna. So yeah, Prabhupada says that we need to get out there and spread the Hare Krishna movement. Hannah.
Why does it say that when one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, one transcends the mode of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman? Why the level of Brahman?
Well, Brahman is the starting point. It means that you realize that your level of Brahman means Brahma Bhuta, right? Brahma Bhuyaya means the spiritual platform, means you come to the spiritual platform, that you are not influenced by the modes of goodness, passion, or ignorance. You're just completely on the spiritual platform, understanding that you're a spirit soul and you're no longer influenced by any material, anything, anything material.
But we hear also that one can fall down from that position.
Yeah, so he's not talking about like merging into the Brahma Jyoti or something like that. That's not what he's talking about here. He's talking about just becoming free from material bondage, become free from material influences, and being on the spiritual platform where you can fully function as a spiritual being in the service of Krishna.
Okay.
Right? Because what happens is now we're trying to be devotees, right? We're trying to serve Krishna, but sometimes we get like heavily influenced by the modes. We get like moded out, right? And then we can't get out of bed in the morning, or we procrastinate on things. We know we should do something, but we get distracted, or we get carried away by our lust, anger, greed, and so forth. And it's hard to do things. Or we do something good for a change. We're on a good streak, of getting up, a nice daily routine, but then we start getting proud, thinking we're better than others because, I really nailed this. I got my sadhana down and whatever. So then, even the mode of goodness can be contaminating. So, but when we do devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, then we get above the mode of ignorance that causes us to be depressed and lazy and downcast, and we get free from passion, which makes us want to chase after material gain, material enjoyment, money, relationships, all that. And we get free from the influence of goodness, which makes us, become proud and complacent that, yes, I have a good life. I eat healthy foods. I have a nice daily routine, and, I'm clean and organized. And so, yeah, and we come to the level where it's like, I am the servant of Krishna and I exist to serve Krishna, and I'm very happy serving Krishna because I'm a spirit soul and that's what I do. That's who I am. And yeah, so it's like freeing.
Yeah.
And then the modes may be churning all around us, but we're not getting hit by them, right? Because we're above them. Just like if you're in a small boat on the ocean, you're getting tossed all over by the waves. But if you're like up in a helicopter, the waves can go crashing as much as they want and they're not going to shake you a bit because you're not in contact with them. Right? So you have to get on the Bhakti helicopter and then we can fly off into Krishna's service without any getting knocked here and there by the modes. So that's the benefit of the Brahman platform. But the Brahman platform is just the beginning, right? Relief from material suffering, rising above the influence of the three modes of material nature. That's just the beginning. You come to the spiritual platform. It's like, okay, now I'm on the spiritual platform. Now I can really serve. Now I'm in the liberated state. Now I can really serve Krishna without any problems, without any, setbacks, without any dampening of my enthusiasm, without any misconceptions. I can just go forward, like very purely, very boldly, and I can do a lot for Krishna. So it's nice. It's helpful.
So what comes after that?
What's that?
What comes after that? If that's just the beginning.
Yeah, what comes after that is that we keep serving Krishna, and then we realize our eternal constitutional position in the spiritual world, and then we awaken our dormant love for Krishna, and then we go back to Godhead. Right?
Mhm.
And then we can serve Krishna there in the company with all of his associates and the cowherd boys and the gopis and the parents and the cows and the peacocks and the parrots we can run and play and dance and hug Krishna.
Hug Krishna.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? I just had one other question because we were reading about the Ghee Muni. Who
Charvak Muni?
yeah, Charvak. Who is better, the atheist who is vegetarian or the person who knows about God but is a meat eater?
The person who knows about God. Because Prabhupada would say, like, there are many animals that are vegetarians. So, but if somebody knows about God, then they're better than an animal, right? If they believe in God, they think of God sometimes, maybe they pray to God sometimes. But then they eat meat because some people, they don't know that it's wrong, right? Like they don't understand what's wrong with eating meat. For them, it's just food. But like Prabhupada says here, that if, yeah, simply by engaging in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, people will gradually understand that they're not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the same way, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, people will gradually get purified and understand that, it's not good to kill and eat poor animals. So that's part of that might take them a little time. Right? But if they're actually sincere, if they believe in God and they're actually sincerely practicing their religion, then gradually, eventually they'll come to that conclusion that, why am I eating animals? Right? Because a lot of Christians eat meat, but Jesus was a vegetarian. So, yeah. But it's like, we say that there are a lot of ISKCON devotees, and then there's Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, in the same way that not all Christians do what Jesus did, on that standard that Jesus was. So in the same way, like ISKCON devotees, we're also not on the level that Prabhupada was. But by practicing Krishna consciousness, we come to that level. By practicing their faith, they can come to that level if they're sincere, or they might come to Krishna consciousness, meet a devotee, or whatever. Krishna will find a way to facilitate their stopping eating meat. Okay. All right, we better stop. It's quite late. I didn't realize that it was already 5 o'clock when we started reading that long purport. But anyways, we missed class yesterday, didn't we? No, yesterday was Sunday. We missed class Friday. Yeah. So tomorrow also, I don't think we'll be able to have class because I'm going to be at the airport. Yeah, I'm going to be like checking in and going to my gate and boarding my flight around that time. But we will have class on Wednesday. Okay. Anyways, nice to see you. I'll be back at Krishna House Dallas tomorrow. Everyone is going to pick me up, right? Okay. Jai. Grantaraj Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.